feel embarrassed. What would Halo be without its iconic theme? Or a game like Silent Hill without its haunting ambient soundtracks?
Aren't you Maria?
No. I personally love Silent Hill 3's mall theme remixed, something that gets the glutes pumped, you know? I work out the Silent Hill 3 mall theme remixed, and I don't care. Music is used in many mediums of entertainment, in movies, even if it's mixed terribly. Anime, whether it's the most iconic intro you've ever heard, or just adding ambience to a scene. A modern example being like Don to Don, or an older example being like Cowboy Bebop. Yes, Cowboy Bebop is Unk anime, just go ahead and accept that now. Me and you are gonna get through this together. We're getting old. Even YouTube videos have backing tracks, like this guy. This guy has a really awesome choice of background music. You know, but we're not here to watch this guy. Or are we? We're here to talk about video games. And we're here to talk about the growth, and in some cases, the downfall of video game soundtracks. How did we go from Beethoven orchestral compositions like in Gears of War to Travis Scott concert in Fortnite? To figure out where we went wrong, we have to go back in time and talk about the In the early beginnings of video game music development, developers were limited by hardware, specifically hardware storage space. For a visual comparison, we're going to compare Black Ops 6 to a game like Super Mario Bros. On the NES. Black Ops 6 is a full shelf of books. Now take one book off the shelf, then take one page out of one of those books, and you have the size of Super Mario Bros. I don't read books, so here's another comparison. If you lined up Super Mario Bros. 3.75 million times, you'd fill up the space that Black Ops 6 takes up on your Xbox. Obviously, by looking at that, you can tell that there has been advancements in technology since your old fart of a dad was playing Super Mario Bros. Notable advancements being the transition from this beautiful piece of garbage that you had to do some favors for to get working sometimes, you know what I'm saying? To this sleek baby, a CD, also known as a compact disc, and the introduction of MIDI, or Musical Instrument Digital Interface. It is a technical standard that allows electronic musical instruments, computers, and other related devices to communicate with each other, and if that sounds confusing, it looks like this. All this to help storage be bigger on games. Surely this won't get out of hand and create storage bombs of games later, right? Right? Even with the technical limitations of the time, we still receive some of the most memorable soundtracks ever in history. Ugh! Is that Beethoven? GTFO with that trash. I got Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time main title theme song to listen to. Building atmosphere is something that game devs utilize music for all the time. You as a player might not even notice it either. In a game like The Last of Us, the iconic lone guitar soundtrack is an absolute banger and gets two big booms. Boom, boom. Your brain is used to more complexly composed pieces of music naturally, like Travis Scott Fortnite. So stripping all instruments away except for one guitar subconsciously relates the lone guitar to our daddy-daughter duo being alone in this world. There's people in the world, but not exactly very chill, not very macho. They are the lone guitar in the empty room, which means you playing as them are also the lone guitar in the empty room. And why did the sequel have to suck so bad? This also goes both ways. In a game like GTA, the OST beats are typically high tempo to reflect how the player feels while making that getaway drive, or the intense heists, even though I didn't really like GTA, but whatever, don't care, never cared, won't care. The emotional impact that the soundtrack has on a player works hand in hand with building Let's talk about some trauma I have. Doki Doki Literature Club. Doki Doki starts off as a fun, quirky dating game in the early stages, but then spirals into one of the most traumatizing Game Grumps playthroughs I've ever had the pleasure of experiencing, because I never actually played the game and opted to instead watch two grown men voice act as high school children for about 8 hours.
You said you're thinking about ignoring me.
Get bigger hands.
The shift from chill to not so chill seems to be out of left field, but there are hints in the soundtrack that tip the player off if they are perceptive enough. The song you'll be hearing most is a chill reggae beat. Seems pretty chill, but if you listen closely, as Danny puts it,
that the piano and the flute or whatever in the background, they're like out of, they like suck at playing it.
It's just one part. It's gonna take a minute to loop around, but like, okay, so that one's good. The next, it's on the this one's good too. Yep, very good. And it's like, all right, Timmy, you did great at the recital. It's just one more round to bring it home. God damn it!
And that's how the game subtly sets up that safe space. My favorite example of this is when this chick, who up to this point is slowly been revealing herself to be a tad bit of a psycho, reveals her feelings for you, and the soundtrack cuts off moments before to build tension, and then your ears are blessed with this. Yes, I accept. This goes to show that soundtracks aren't just musical notes. They added heavy breathing, static in the background. Both of those add a lot to this. This is the original piece, for example. Now, bring that bit back over here and let her commence to heavy breathing back into that mic again. It's for atmosphere, trust me, bro. Can I scan the bottom of your feet?
Wow. I actually remember they asked to scan like underneath my feet for a reference. And
it adds a level of intimate solitude. It makes you feel more trapped with this person, especially since there are no spoken lines of dialogue in DDLC. It makes the soundtrack really stand out as jarring yet super immersive moment because there's nothing to go off of how these characters might sound other than someone breathing kind of heavily into a microphone.
You shut the f up.
Speaking of fictional women that scared me, My Side utilizes the soundtrack in the same way. In My Side, you play as a virgin who plays a dating simulator on his phone when one day you get transported into the game with your in-game girlfriend, Mita. Pretty chill, right? Wrong. It turns out that this bitch is crazy and I want to go home now. But to do that, you need to navigate through many versions of the game to get to the core. And throughout this journey, you're running from Evil Mita, which is the original one that transported you, but along the way, you run into other mini Mitas, or Mitai? Maitai? I don't fucking know. Normally, these sections have upbeat music that lets the player associate that with a safe space, much like how Silent Hill does. The music is such a key factor that you almost can instantly recognize when shit is about to get weird. This being a great example. You are in a safe space going back on your journey through the untracked lands of the hallways, and the music just cuts off. To top it all off, both the Doki Doki Literature Club and My Side's amazing OSTs were made by one guy respectively. Doki Doki Literature Club's OST was made by, I need to look this shit up, it just says insert name on the script. Oh fuck, I don't even have my phone on me. Whatever, it was made by this guy. And My Side's OST was made by this guy. Meaning that each of these guys did all the work that went into the soundtrack, which is crazy. In My Side, the whole game was only made by 2 people, which is crazy times 2. I don't have a transition for this, so let's just get right into immersion. Immersion in gaming can be a hard thing to come across, especially if you're playing a new multiplayer FPS. Hashtag not my Call of Duty. Hashtag please stop with this. I don't like it. But soundtracks can dramatically help with creating immersion. When I show you this picture, or this picture, or especially this picture, what does it make you feel? If you said, then you are right. Here's a cookie. Skyrim is a great example of an immersive soundtrack because back when Bethesda was locked in, they were producing banger after banger. Side note, does anyone else go through the yearly cycle of like getting excited to play Skyrim and then just getting through the tutorial, making your character and all that, and then whenever you get out into the real world, you're like you just get really bored out of nowhere? Is that just me? Am I a psychopath? Am I fucking crazy? Soundtracks don't always have to be music though. Sometimes it can just be sound. A game I do not have an issue going back and replaying once a year or so is Inside. Inside doesn't have a single piece of dialogue. So much like Doki Doki Literature Club, the only thing there is heavy breathing and ambient noise. One of the main ways to communicate emotion and story is through verbal communication like we've done for thousands of years. So when you strip away that ability, you naturally rely more on sound. Now, Inside does have a soundtrack, but it takes more of a back seat to the just general sound. Like when the boy, I don't know his name, we're just gonna call him the boy. He's never named because there's no dialogue in the game, obviously. At one point comes across some mermaid type shit. The precedent set by the game makes this a scary thing to be around, but if you still weren't sure how to feel about this mermaid creature, the boy's breathing is anxious. He's timidly looking around, and the lack of music, aside from low droning, helps set the mood for unease. The actual soundtrack in Inside sounds so distinct because it was actually made using a real human skull. That's right. The composer Martin Stig Anderson used a technique where he ran sounds through a real human skull to create an eerie, bone-conducted resonance. And you may be asking yourself, what the actual fuck was compelling our boy Martin Stig to use a human skull for the purpose of making gamer music? Well, dear viewer, I have an answer. Our little grave robber Martin says that the decision was made because he was interested in the way your voice sounds inside your own head. He wondered how that kind of audio filter would translate to Inside's music. He said in an interview that that was the curious thought that led him to acquire and experiment with a human skull. Lock this guy up. Lock him up. No more questions need to be asked. His co-composer wrote songs aiming for the 1980s synth vibe and then piped them through the skull using a contact microphone. If you're thinking to yourself, that's kind of messed up that he used a skull for video game soundtracks, but do not fret. He said that he doesn't expect to reuse the skull again for any future endeavors for the fact that the skull wasn't very durable due to the fact that all the vibrations from the music running through it made all the teeth fall out. So it just wouldn't really hit the same, I guess. Imagine you donate your body to science and your skull is like, just used to make video game music. That'd actually be pretty epic, honestly. TBH, that's the best outcome. It's not like you're being strapped to like a water heater and exploded for something like science, you know, like Mythbusters. Speaking of science, I want to talk about Portal. More specifically, the interactive nature of video game music. Most game music is designed to respond to the player's actions, like LA Noire when you can't tell whether someone's lying or having a stroke based on the look on their face. And you get the little wrong or right noise. That little subtle noise lets you know if you're making good or bad progress. This forms a more personalized bond between the player and the game through music. Portal also does this. As you solve test chambers, the equipment will make music cues, like getting a laser in the whole thingy. I don't know what this shit's called. Or when you step on an aerial faceplate and you soar through the air to this soundtrack. I remembered what that one was called. I know that. It's almost like the player is making a soft composition of music, breathing a little bit of soul into the lifeless test chambers, while still having that mechanical feel by using synthesizers, digital sounds, and clean tones. It makes it more personal. Portal 2 was one of my favorite games growing up. I remember a lot of these sounds made me feel comfort in a game where only 3 characters directly speak to the player. It was easy to feel alone in this game, but these little contained symphonies made it feel a bit more lived in. Younger me was also obsessed with Ratman. I really thought that he was out there somewhere. Like when you happen to find one of Ratman's hideouts, a creepy ambient soundtrack plays. Interlaced within that soundtrack is Ratman's schizoid ramblings that you can barely hear in the background. I always found this neat because it's almost like he's trying to become another voice that speaks to the player in the game. More on the realm of game mechanics and music interaction, games like Beat Saber and Guitar Hero do this more obviously, where in Guitar Hero you have a crowd meter or some shit that fills up while you play. I don't know, it's been a while since I've played, but I'm a grown man now and I play real guitar. I may have lied. A more recent example would be a game like Beat Saber, where if you miss notes, it rhythmically affects the music. Guitar Hero didn't necessarily have its own curated soundtrack, it just used popular songs from across different generations. But the thing about this newer generation though is a lot of popular songs are from video games, bringing me to my next point. Memorable compositions and sound. A game that comes to mind whenever I think of cultural influence and just memorable soundtracks in general is Minecraft. Minecraft is a game that has had a grip on the past 2 generations, and an upcoming one with the Minecraft movie that I went and saw with my friends, hashtag pretty good time. Minecraft's music culturally affected so many of us because we grew up playing Minecraft, and most times it was during a best part of our childhood. Booting up Minecraft and exploring a new world with friends as Wet Hand plays in the background is just a blessed experience to have. The music in Minecraft is actually meant to be very subtle, but in the end, Minecraft isn't the same without music. If you've ever tried to play Minecraft without music, you know how just awkward it feels sometimes. It almost changes the whole vibe of the game and makes it a tad creepy. Minecraft holds a very special place in my heart because growing up playing Minecraft, every time I'd play, for some reason my parents would start fighting for whatever reason. Obviously not over Minecraft, but years later I revisited Minecraft, and the soundtrack being linked to that weird bit of not so chill memories in my mind brought a feeling of comfort to me now. Its melancholy notes still ring true to the excitement of disengaging with real life for a minute and letting your imagination take hold and letting you build something wonderful. And it seems that a lot of other people are just as inspired by Minecraft's music as I am, like Sadie Owner, who made an entire Minecraft OST, but in the style of Midwestern Emo. Give that a listen. It's actually like super fucking cool. This guy, hashtag bless C418 for making awesome music. That guy is a fucking legend. You can still have a very memorable soundtrack without it being linked to the feeling of being calm. Other games that come to mind are Gears of War. Gears of War has a very bombastic combat soundtrack that is ingrained in my brain to this day. Or Halo's Choir. Just like Fallout's Death Song, they are all nostalgic songs. They are all good, but if you want something that leaves a legacy, take a look at Titanfall 2's mission, Effect and Cause. It is one of the most memorable and critically acclaimed levels in gaming history. You're making your way through the front lines and you eventually come across an abandoned IMC research facility called Ares Division, which was used for time travel experiments. The place is destroyed in the present, but soon you find a time travel device. This time travel device is the core mechanic of the mission. Once you acquire the time gauntlet, you can instantly switch between 2 timelines, the past and the present. You use the time switching mechanic to avoid hazards, solve environmental puzzles, flank enemies, or escape danger, and piece together what exactly happened to the facility. The narrative significance of this is as you explore, you learn that IMC was testing time manipulation tech and lost control, causing a catastrophic destruction. The mission blends storytelling with gameplay by letting you witness the downfall of the facility firsthand in the past, and then letting you walk through the aftermath in the present. And the reason it stands out is it broke FPS norms at the time. I don't really give a fuck about none of that shit. And all that wouldn't mean jack shit without a kick-ass soundtrack. But how do you effectively convey what feels like an Avengers level threat that you were in the middle of to the player musically? This is how.
You hear that new Titanfall 2 music? Nah, let me hear that shit.
Music in single-player games is normally more fun, but Normally music in multiplayer games is more functional. Whenever I say functional, I really mean that the music is meant to provide the player with info. Left 4 Dead is a great example. Left 4 Dead's musical sound cues are essential. I know that whenever I hear a little, that me and the boys need to hunker down and get ready for some World War Z level type shit to go down. Or whenever I hear, to just go ahead and lube up my ears for the fucking that's about to happen. Like if you ever wanted to make Left 4 Dead harder, just turn off the music. Even if it's your first time playing the game, this is a great example of giving the player info based on music while still maintaining a horror gameplay aspect. When the player gets shitted on by a boomer, the screaming choir mixed with the distorting visual adds an anxiety factor of dealing with the fact that a horde of infected are incoming and you have to adapt to the new situation. Or, as Kelly Thornton says,
players who leave the music on are treated to a variety of subtle audio cues that not only deepen the horror experience, but make them better players.
Hashtag bring back developer commentary. Rainbow Six is also another game that uses sound and musical cues to inform players. Like when the round is about to end and this starts to play. This by itself doesn't feel that crazy, but when you put the sound over a 1v1 overtime match point ranked game, it goes pretty crazy. It goes even harder on mute because I can't hear shit with it on. Sorry to whoever put their soul into this, but I gotta mute it every time because hashtag I be slamming and hashtag I also be selling pretty hard. I be selling. I'm gold 5. I don't know who I'm trying to fucking impress.
You guys are so shit! I'm about to fucking leave!
I remember as a kid, my mom took me to a video game concert in Nashville, Tennessee, and at the time I just wanted to hear a lot of music that I knew, but a lot of what they played was stuff from an older era before me, like the N64 era, that I had never heard before. At first I was disappointed, but I actually ended up being blown away at the amount of amazing video game music that I had never heard, and also just how awesome it was to be at a coliseum full of gamers that respected video game music for the passionate, artistic, and straight up immaculate experiences that it can provide. The one song that they played that I actually knew was the Portal Still Alive song. And hearing everyone sing along was such an amazing experience. Hashtag, thank you mom, I wish I could show you how much I appreciated that. If you're watching this, I really appreciated that. More importantly, it makes me think of the future of video game music. An important part of this discussion is obviously AI. People are worried that video game music, maybe a lot of normal music, will be replaced by AI-generated audio. But if you are worried about that, I say look towards the people that made Miside, or Doki Doki Literature Club, or even Minecraft's music. There is soul behind all these OSTs that cannot be recreated by an AI. Maybe one day it will be replaced, but they can't take away what is out already, and therefore our memories of playing those. What's your favorite soundtrack? If I didn't mention it, and you think I should have, let me know. Or if you just want to let me know what your favorite soundtrack is, I'm down to talk. I reply to pretty much everybody in my comments section. And if you like the video, consider liking and subscribing. It helps a lot. I'm wanting to get to 5,000 subscribers with this video. That'd be super dope. And remember that if no one else loves you, I do, and I always will for you giving me your precious time. Goodbye.
Still alive. When you're dead, I know he's still alive.